Hi, sixth graders. Today we're going to talk through comparing data sets. Open up your notebook to a fresh page and get this title at the top. Press play when you're ready to continue. Let's start by looking at some data, and this data is representing our number of wins by Major League Baseball teams in 2016. Will you please start by writing down that data in your notebook? Pause so you have enough time to write. Let's go ahead and find the landmarks. To find the mean, we're going to add up these numbers and divide by how many there are. Please do that now. To find the median, we're going to find the center of the data. I'll show you the answers in a second here. They're just all going to pop up at the same time. Remember, to find the center, we're going to cross off low, high, until we get down to the center. And it looks like I have one number in the center, 84. My range is going to be maximum minus minimum. Oops, I think I forgot the mode. We'll do that after the range. So there's my range. My mode. Did I have any repeats? Let's see. I think I may have had one. I see 284s, 289s, 286s. So I think I have three modes, 84, 86, and 89. And I can't remember what other landmarks there are on there. Oh yeah, we had Q1, Q3, and IQR as well. So just a refresher on finding that lower quartile. I'm going to erase my red here so you can see. To find that Q1 or the lower quartile, 84 was my center number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think it was this one, but I'm going to double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. So I've got 7 numbers on each side. 84 was in the exact center. I'm going to put a box around that. For my lower quartile, I look at all the numbers below that 84, and I do low, high until I get to that center, which ends up being 74. So there's my Q1. And then for my upper quartile, I do the same thing, but with all the numbers above the median, I get down to 89. That's my upper quartile, or Q3. That IQR is when you subtract your 89 minus 74. That's how I got 15. My mean, I didn't have that calculated for you, was 81.9 or 93. You can round to the nearest tenth or hundredth. If you did not get any of those, double check that you might just want to go back and try that again on your calculator. This is really good practice for those landmarks. Ooh, what's the best average here? Remember, for best averages, we can look at mean, median, or mode. First thing we want to look for, do we have an outlier? Not really. The data up here, we have a couple data points in the 90s. 59 is about 10 numbers down, about, from 68, not perfectly. So I don't know if that's enough of a low outlier to really affect the mean. If I look at the mean and the median, they're pretty close together, which tells me that the mean wasn't greatly affected by that lower number. I don't have one number that repeats a lot. Although I have 3 modes, that's not one number repeating many times. So I can eliminate the mode as a best choice. I would probably say the mean is the best choice. I don't think 59 is big enough of an outlier. If you argued that it was, then maybe you would pick the median, but I would say mean is probably the best average here. You try this data set. So pause while you find the landmarks for the National League. So we had the mean, median, mode, and range, and then the upper, lower quartiles, and the IQR. Pause while you find those, and then I'll release the answers here in a second. Okay, press play. Hopefully you've pressed play when you're ready to see the answers. So our landmarks, the mean was 79.8 or 0.9 if you rounded to the nearest tenth. Our median was 78. Our mode was 68. Our min was 68, our max was 103, which means our range was 35. Our lower quartile was 69, upper quartile was 87, and the inner quartile range was 18. What would you say was the best average, mean, median, or mode? 68's in there 3 times. I don't know if it's overwhelming enough to pick the mode. Could kind of be argued. I would probably say not enough yet, especially because it's the minimum in the data set. Your median and your mean are pretty close together. I don't have any major landmark or major outliers, so I would probably say the mean is the best choice here again. In your opinion, which league is better? The American League or the National League? Use data calculations from each league to support your reasoning. So when we're arguing these, we really want to focus on some of the different landmarks that help us support their averages. So let's look at our averages. Really, I'm going to focus in on the mean and medians here. Who had better means and median overall? Well, American League had a higher mean and a higher median. And those are two numbers that we use as averages. So if American League has both a higher mean and a higher median, I would say American League did better overall because of that. I can also sometimes look at the quartiles to help me, my lower quartile and upper quartile. If I look at those quartiles, I'm also noticing that both of their quartiles in American League are higher than my National League, so I could also use those to support me. I usually think it's best to start with these two, the mean and the median, and use those to help us, but we can also use those quartiles to support our choice as well. Here's some reasoning. So American League has a higher mean, which we would use as the best representation. All measures of the central tendency, like we talked about, mean, median, and even the modes were higher, and then the upper and lower quartiles are higher. So we don't need all of these things to consider American League higher, but they all were higher. And a really good point here that I didn't touch on the last slide is, what would you use as the best representation? Would you use the mean, the median, or the mode? And then really focus in on that. Because we said mean was going to be the best representation for both leagues, let's focus in on that mean and see who has a higher mean overall. You try an example. Oh, here's a good question. When looking at multiple sets of data, which landmarks are the best to compare and why? Generally, our measures of central tendency are best to compare. Your mean, your median, maybe your modes, because those are really showing us averages of the data set, and we really want to focus on who's doing better overall on average. We don't want to get tuned into those maximum and minimums because that's just one data point, whereas those measures of central tendency give us a feel for that overall how the team or set of data is doing. You try this. So in 2016, the movie tickets sold by our top 10 grossing movies, these are rounded in millions, were as follows. So these were our number of movie tickets sold in 2016. Will you pause and find the landmarks? Mean, median, mode. Also find that lower upper quartile and inner quartile range. When you're ready to see those answers, press play. So our mean was 43.1, our median was 43, modes 43 and 39, min is 27, max is 58, range is 31, lower quartile was 39, upper quartile 48, and IQR was 9. Now let's look at 2015. Pause while you find the landmarks of this data. Press play when you're ready to continue. Let's look at these answers. So on 2015 answers over here on the right, we had a mean of 46.8, median of 41.5, 42 was our mode, min was 24, max was 88, range was 64, Q1 was 33, Q3 was 54, and IQR was 21. So in your opinion, which year had better performing movies? Use our data calculations from each year to help support your reasoning. We might want to double check before we do this. Did we have any outliers in either data set? No, 2015 is pretty well spread out. We don't really have any major jumps. I guess 77 and 88 are kind of big jumps from that 54. What about in 2016? Did we have any outliers there? Not really. The data kind of jumps pretty evenly throughout, so I don't see any major outliers there. So both of them we could probably say the mean is a good choice. 2015 you might argue the median. But if I look at those, 2015 has a higher mean than 2016, but if I look at the medians, 2016 has a higher median. Let's look at some of the other landmarks. So our modes, we have 2 modes over here in 2016, but one of theirs is higher. Let's look at my quartiles. So 39 was higher, but then 54 was higher. So it kind of looks like 2016 has more of those landmarks that are higher, specifically the median, one of the modes, and a lower quartile. But then if we look at 2015, the mean was higher, as well as the 3rd quartile. So I could kind of see this one being argued both ways. I think I would go with 2016 because that median is a little bit higher, as well as the mode and the lower quartile. But if you really focused on that mean, you might say 2015 for that reason. All right, guys, if you have any questions, check in with your teacher.